Hello, everyone, and welcome to this late night edition of Langer at the Mic Live. We are here to preview the Montreal Canadiens 2021-22 season. And it might be a little bit late, better late than never, but still not too late because the Habs debut or open their season tomorrow night against the Toronto Maple Leafs after a wild off season, losing many key players and veterans and all that. We covered that earlier this offseason, and an interesting preseason, but we're finally here. And actually, the Vegas Golden Knights are currently playing the Seattle Kraken in the Kraken's first game tonight. And the Kraken actually scored 2 goals to make it 3-2 Golden Knights. And the Lightning are down 6-2 against Pittsburgh. So all this to say, or lost 6-2 the Pittsburgh Penguins when they raised their Stanley Cup banner. But all this to say is that hockey season is finally underway. We're in October. We got hockey, we got baseball, we got football, we got NBA starting soon. But anyway, time to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. I did this last year before and after the season for where I previewed the Habs season last year, did a recap, revisited my predictions and all that. And we're going to do the same thing here for this upcoming Montreal Canadiens season. So nice to be back. And so let's get right into it over here. I'll pull up my projections here for forwards, defensemen, and goaltenders, and also what the record will be and how they will finish in the Eastern Conference standings. So let's pull it up right here with the forwards. So Nick Suzuki, where else to start other than Nick Suzuki, who signed an 8-year, $63 million extension today. And that is a huge responsibility for Suzuki. It's a great contract. I love it because honestly, GMs nowadays have to gamble and honestly see if they could get star caliber players on low cap hits instead of bridging them, and then breaking the bank and locking them up into their mid 30s, which who knows if they'll be able to keep up at that level until their mid 30s. Whereas Nick Suzuki, he is signed through the 2030 season. And it's a gamble because don't get me wrong, if Nick Suzuki doesn't take the next steps, $7.8 million a season or a $7.8 million cap hit is pretty rich for a guy who hasn't passed 60 points a season yet, but Nick Suzuki just took a huge step in the playoffs, and he'll just have to take another step this year to live up to that. So anyway, great deal for Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens, today, who now I believe is the highest cap hit on the Canadiens roster right now in terms of skaters. Price obviously is the highest cap hit overall, but in terms of skaters, I think it's the same as Shea Weber's right now. It's $7.8 million per season. So anyway, let's get into our stats right now. So I have Suzuki taking that next step and going 81 games, scoring 24 goals, 41 assists, 65 points. He was at about a 50 point per game pace last year, but I think he'll play with Toffoli. He'll play with Caulfield. He'll play with guys that put the puck in the net. So I think Suzuki will pass the 60 point mark this season for the first time in his career. Tyler Toffoli doesn't quite keep up the 44 goal pace that he was on last year. He still gets in 78 games, 34 goals, 32 assists, 66 points to lead the team. Although that could very well be Suzuki. And I think again, because Toffoli is in a great opportunity, great position here, surrounded by just guys that he played with last year, whether it was Suzuki and Caulfield, or whether it was maybe even a little bit of Josh Anderson, a little bit of Drouin, a little bit of, he did play with Deneau, but I think maybe Christian Dvorak will be able to mesh well with Toffoli this year. But I think he also passes the 66 or the 60 goal point mark rather, and the 30 goal mark this year. Cole Caulfield. Now this is an interesting one. Also, what I did is I kind of averaged out the goals per game and points per game over the last couple of years for most of the veterans, but for the rookies and young players, I kind of just guessed it and just completely took it out of left field, as I did for Cole Caulfield here. So I think Cole Caulfield gets in 79 games, 31 goals, 26 assists, 57 points. So Caulfield does get to 50 points, but he doesn't quite hit 40 goals, but he does get 30 goals in his official rookie season. And I do think that Caulfield, as we saw in the playoffs, is that he can be a good playmaker also. He didn't have the finish that we wanted just yet, that we saw. Like, he had finished, don't get me wrong, but not to the level that we saw in college. I think he'll have a little more finish this year, but I think we'll see him make plays as well, setting up guys like Suzuki, guys like Toffoli, guys like Drouin, guys like Gallagher, even when he plays on the power play. So I don't underestimate Caulfield's ability as a playmaker, and which means that even if he doesn't get the 30 goal plateau, I think he'll get more than enough assists to get him to 50 plus points. Now, Brandon Gallagher. Now, I think the reality is we have to expect Gallagher to get injured once or twice in the course of a season, which sucks. I hate to say it. Love Brandon Gallagher. He's one of the leaders of this team. Could arguably get the C from Shea Weber, assuming if Shea Weber can't come back, which is sad and sucks. But anyway, Brandon Gallagher, though, I think it's just the unfortunate reality is he will miss games this year. Something will happen, and he will play all 82. That's for sure. But I think he plays 62 games, still gets over the 20 goal mark, and just barely reaches the 40 goal mark or 40 point mark. So he finishes 22 goals, 17 assists, 39 points. Jonathan Drouin. Now, okay, so here is where I have not reacted yet on this channel formally to Jonathan Drouin, his interview with Chantal Machabée of RDS a couple weeks ago. Just really takes a lot of courage, and I want to admire and respect the courage that took Jonathan Drouin to open up about his anxiety and his insomnia. And I hope that the work that he did in his leave of absence and this off season does pay dividends. And I think it will, because I think he'll reach the 55 or the 50 point mark once again. Career high of 55 points this year for Drouin, 76 games, 17 goals, 38 assists. I think Drouin will take that next step this year and maybe not be quite the 60, 70 point player, but he'll be a very serviceable 50 goal or 50 point player. And more importantly, I think he'll figure out how to put the puck in the net this year. He'll get over whatever mental hurdles he has dealt with. I think he'll get at least 10 goals, but he'll rack up the assists, put up 55 points. And on the topic of Drouin, we'll take a moment to, I released a reaction video on Carey Price, a brief one on Carey Price on my Twitter account at Mike Langer. So check that out from last week. And honestly, kudos to Carey Price. The same way I respected Drouin for stepping away, I respect Carey Price for stepping away and taking the time in the NHL Player Assistance Program to get right mentally. Because it's been since the 2007-08 season was his rookie season. So that is 14 years as a Montreal Canadian, 14 years as a goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, 14 years where he's in the spotlight and expected to carry this franchise. And he has literally carried this franchise through thick and thin, through playoff runs, most recently as this past year, through his own injuries, both physically and mentally. And he's due. He's due for this time to get himself right, whether it's with himself or his family. It's not our role to speculate, but it's our job to respect, understand, listen, and support Carey Price through this at least 30-day absence. And I don't care however long it is, however long it needs to be for Price to get right and become the leader and be the guy that he was in the playoffs last year. However long it takes for him to get to that level, so be it. But I hope it happens, and I think it will happen because I believe in Carey Price. So Jonathan Drouin, 76 games, 17 goals, 38 assists, 55 points. Josh Anderson. So I nailed this prediction last year. I thought I nailed, I think 17 goals was my prediction for Josh Anderson last year, and nailed it. This time, I'm going 75 games. I think I'll miss a few also because of injury, as was the case last year. I'm going 28 goals. Now, Josh Anderson is the worst passer on the team. So, but I think he accidentally finds his way into 12 assists just because it happens when you put the puck to the net and guys bury it. So Josh Anderson still gets 12 assists, 40 points in 75 games, but he does get his 28 goals. Now, Christian Dvorak, newcomer Christian Dvorak, essentially the return on Kotkaniemi in the three-way trade with the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, offer sheet, first round pick compensation being sent to Arizona. Christian Dvorak, I think he's pretty Philip Deneau-like stats over there with 45 points that I have him reaching 45 points in 79 games. But the biggest difference between him and Philip Deneau, aside from both their abilities to play well defensively, which they're both have in common, and win faceoffs, but Dvorak will put the puck in the net more than Philip Deneau put the puck in the net, which is why I'm projecting 23 goals, 22 assists, 45 points for Christian Dvorak in his first season as a Hab. Now, this was another interesting one. Mike Hoffman, free agent signing, expected, basically replacing Tatar, but expected to replace Tatar by way of scoring more goals than getting points and being a two-way guy. Because the Habs have plenty of two-way skilled forwards that are skilled but can't put the puck in the net, whereas Mike Hoffman's a guy that can put the puck in the net. So that being said, I think Mike Hoffman will be another 20-goal scorer in his first year as a Canadian, but obviously he will miss the start of the season with the knee injury, but he will, I think, come back by late October, November. Either way, have him playing 68 games, scoring 22 goals, 26 assists, 48 points for Mike Hoffman in his first season as a Hab. Now, Jake Evans also got rewarded with a contract extension, a really good contract extension, just that will pay him just over $1 million per year on average over the next, I think, 3 seasons. Great signing. And I have him playing, bottom 6, not much more than that. He'll play either probably third line, fourth line center. The only guys I did not do here were Cedric Paquette and Yannick Perreault because not Yannick Perreault. What am I saying? Matthew Perreault. Yannick Perreault. Oh boy, there's a throwback. But yeah, so those are the only 2 guys I kind of omitted offensively because what's the point of going through their goals, assists, and points? They're just going to be depth defensive players that will just sometimes play center and win faceoffs. But anyway, Jake Evans, I want to acknowledge that he won't take that big of a leap offensively, but he'll still play his role effectively. Just play against the other team's top players, win faceoffs, kill penalties. He'll play 66 games, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points. 66 games due to either injury, but also maybe he'll be a guy that'll rotate in and out of the bottom 6 of the lineup. So yeah, that's Jake Evans. Artturi Lehkonen, similar story. Not much of a step offensively either. Artturi Lehkonen did score the goal that sent the Habs to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 1993. But I have him playing 66 games, 9 goals, 12 assists, 21 points. Just, again, a guy that kills penalties, bottom 6. Skilled guy that can't really finish, but smart, hustle, forecheck, good coaches, pet for Dominique Ducharme. So, and Alex Burrows. So I see that being Artturi Lehkonen. Yoel Armia now. Now, Yoel Armia the last couple of years has also been injured every so often. So I think it'll happen again, which is why I have him playing 61 games, just again, reality based on the last couple of seasons, whether it's injuries, whether it's COVID. Yoel Armia seems to just miss a handful of games every year, just is what it is. Not wishing for it, but again, just going based on past couple of seasons. And he did get the contract extension. He got the Paul Byron extension of 4 years, 16-ish million, $3.4 million per season on the cap hit. So I have him going 61 games, 11 goals, 12 assists, 23 points. I think his career high is 30, so I don't have him reaching quite the career high, but still 23 points in 61 games. Okay for Yoel Armia, and he'll get some power play time as well. Paul Byron now. I want to talk about Paul Byron here. He'll be on LTIR to start the season. I don't think he'll be back until December or January. So which is why I have him playing only 45 games, but still getting 14 points, 6 goals, 8 assists. Just again, being a guy, skilled forward, speed forward, kills penalties, good on the forecheck. He was really physical in the playoffs, but yeah, just not much in terms of point production, but just a serviceable depth player for Dominique Ducharme. That contract ain't really good, but he has this year, I believe, 1 more year left on that contract. And the Canadiens maybe will keep him at a lower average annual salary, but we'll see. Either way, this year, Paul Byron, when he comes back, he'll be Paul Byron and maybe miss some games as well. Maybe put on waivers. I don't know if we'll go that far again because he was still very effective in the playoffs at his role. But yeah, just 45 games, 14 points for Paul Byron. And I did do this one. I did want to do this one because Leaf fans were hyping up Adam Brooks to be the just second coming of their key third, fourth line guy, whatever, just as Leaf fans always do. So I just thought it would be fun to acknowledge Adam Brooks at least. I have him playing 37 games, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much all I have to mention. Maybe he'll play third line center. Maybe he'll play fourth line center. But the Habs have an interesting situation where they have a lot of versatility in their bottom six between Cedric Paquette, between Yannick, did it again, Matthew Perreault. I don't know. I'm thinking about Yannick Perreault for whatever reason, maybe because it's 12 a.m. past 12 midnight on a weeknight. But anyway, Matthew Perreault, Cedric Paquette, Adam Brooks, they're all guys that can play, and Jake Evans, they're all guys that can play both center and at wing. So the Habs, they do have a lot of versatility in their bottom six in terms of guys that can play both center and wing, but can also win faceoffs. And Adam Brooks is one of those guys. But I think he'll just have 13 points and just be just a role type player. Maybe be good on faceoffs, but that's pretty much it. Now let's go over to the defenseman. Let's go over the defenseman here now. Jeff Petrie, will he play at a Norris Trophy winning or candidate level? Sort of, maybe, sure. He was, before this past year, he was about a 40 point per year guy. So I don't know in a longer season if he'll, like last season, he was playing at a 60 point pace or a high 50 point pace. I don't know if he'll reach that level this year, although he'll get peak power play one time probably. But obviously in the absence of Shea Weber, he'll have to be that guy, that number one defenseman. So, but I kind of lowballed it a little bit at 81. I still think he'll play 81 games. He's been durable as heck. As we all know, especially with that finger injury in the playoffs and the red eye situation because of him screeching in pain from the doctors replacing his ring finger. Anyway, either way, Jeff Petrie, durable, but I don't think he'll quite hit the 50 point mark. I have him scoring 14 goals, 35 assists, 49 points in 81 games, and he'll be fine. He'll be Jeff Petrie, so I don't doubt that. I do want to talk about Alexander Romanov second, though. Him, I don't, for whatever reason, I don't know if they're going to use him on the power play. I would put him on the power play, but I think they're going to rotate Chris Weidman, Caulfield, Petrie, and Drouin at the point on the power play. So I just, for whatever reason, they don't trust him to run the power play, which is why I have Romanov playing only 74 games, 3 goals, 14 assists, 17 points, and he'll sit out maybe a game or two, which, again, people won't like, and I don't like either, but just that's the reality of how things were last year. So unless he takes a step forward, he could take a step forward, but I won't believe it till I see it. Brett Kulak playing right now. I think he'll start the season alongside Jeff Petrie. Interesting mix of good speed, guy that can carry the puck up, start the rush, join the rush, but not quite a point producer, which is why I have him playing 75 games, again, rotating in and out, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points for Brett Kulak. Now, Chris Weidman is a bit of a tough guy to predict right now. Chris Weidman was, I believe, the defenseman of the year in the KHL last year. And he'll play on the power play, though, which is why, as much as, like I said, some of these I'm taking completely out of left field, this is one of them. Chris Weidman, 3 goals, 21 assists, 24 points in 73 games. He'll be like a depth defenseman that will kind of, I guess, play the Eric Gustafson role, but be right-handed. Maybe he'll be better. Maybe he'll be worse. I don't know. But I think he'll get the first look on the power play, at least the second wave of the power play, which will benefit his point production. So 24 points, 73 games for Chris Weidman. Then David Savard, Ben Sherrod. Oh boy, I'm not going to waste too much time on these guys, at least from a point production standpoint. I think they'll be fine in terms of playing 19, 20 minutes a game. Ben Sherrod was one of the guys who played like 26, 27 minutes a game in the playoffs last year, and he deserves a lot of respect for that. But in terms of point production, whatever, not much. They'll both play 79, 78 games, 2 goals, 12, 11 points each. Pretty much it. So yeah, that's forwards, that's defensemen. Now let's get to goaltenders. So as you see here, I have Jake Allen obviously starting the season. I think Jake Allen will, at the end of the day, play about 33 games, win 19, get a shutout, and have a 908 save percentage. Now, keep in mind, I find just it's so difficult to predict this for hockey since now we're going back to an 82 game season. So, I think Jake Allen will play 30. Yeah, like I said, 33 games for Jake Allen, 19 wins, and a 908 save percentage and 1 shutout. And I might, you know what? I might revisit this a little bit. I'm giving myself a bit of a mully here because either way, I think between Carey Price and Jake Allen, they'll win 19 and 17 games respectively. I think what I'll do is I'm just going to, just kind of lose. I'll keep the save percentage. I'll keep the games in the same ballpark around. But I would say maybe about 37 for Price. So this is where Carey Price, it all depends on when he comes back. If he comes back, which again, I don't want him to come back until he puts himself and his family, his wife, his kids, and his well-being as the priority before he comes back and plays hockey and plays goalie for the Montreal Canadiens. Because just like Drouin, get yourself right before you can help the Montreal Canadiens win hockey games. So, this is tough, honestly. You know what? I think I'm going to flip this around here. I'm going to flip this around. We give Price 38 games and Price 33 games, Jake Allen 38 games. Yeah, you know what? I think that's all I'll do here. Allen will win 38 games, 19 wins, 908 save percentage, 1 shutout. Price will play 33 when all is said and done, 17 wins, 910 save percentage, 2 shutouts, and he'll join the team maybe in December. Although that's a lot of games to win in December, January, February, March, April. But either way, and the Olympic break does maybe help them here. But again, that's what I see. How the goaltenders will play. And that amounts to about 71 games, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 71 games, which means that between Montembeault and Caden Primo, maybe we'll see Michael McNiven, maybe. But they'll rotate that backup spot for now, which could be the reason why they lose games. Not going to lie, but eventually, look, if it's going to be Jake Allen, if Price is going to be out from a hockey standpoint, that means that Montembeault and Caden Primo are going to have to play games. That's what it all comes down to. So, so basically they'll play about 10, 11 games, I'd say. And in the Habs, that could be their Achilles heel in net. If Jake Allen, he was solid last year. He was fine last year. But if Jake Allen can't play every game, which he won't be able to, that means Montembeault and Primo will have to sub in. And how well they will sub in, we'll see. Anyway, bottom line. I did this last year. I'll do it again. Why the Habs will win, why they'll lose. Kind of the similar story compared to last year. A couple of changes, though. So the Habs will win because they have good depth at forward. They'll have balanced scoring. According to my projections right now, they'll have 8 players with 15-plus goals. And if I go back up, let's see, how many 20 goal scorers will they have? They'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 20-plus goal scorers, according to my projections, which will allow them to have balanced scoring, good depth, just like last year. And also, but the other thing is they will win because Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield will become superstars. And Toffoli will keep up his pace relatively the same as last year. Again, maybe not a 44 goal pace, but around a 35 goal, 50, 60 point pace for Toffoli. If he could keep that up, they'll win games. If Gallagher and Drouin can rejuvenate themselves offensively, that will help as well. I believe more honestly in Drouin's offensive abilities than Gallagher at this stage, just because despite the contract, I think Gallagher is going to be used more as a two-way guy than a goal scorer, which is fine. As long as Suzuki and Caulfield and Anderson and Hoffman and Drouin are scoring the goals or setting up the goals. They'll win because their defense is steady, nothing special, but not a liability. Again, they have options. They have bodies on defense right now. Are they good or are they really good? That remains to be seen. They're okay to good, but outside of Jeff Petrie, they don't have anyone that's like special or like a guy that can, like, even you could say the same thing as last year during the regular season. Shea Weber was special in the playoffs, but he wasn't special in the regular season. Ben Sherratt was okay in the regular season, but not special. He wasn't special until the playoffs. So steady, but not a liability. And I will say again, survivable in quotation marks there, survivable goaltending because just if they're goaltending, if Montembeault and Caden Primo can't hold the fort when Jake Allen's not in net or when Carey Price is not in net, then that's going to be a problem. But if they're okay, that could give them the chance. And now for both here, I'll get to the power play in a bit. The Habs will lose games because Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield aren't quite the star players just yet. And now I know there's that expectation. I know I'm maybe guilty of putting that pressure on them right now. But you know what, Nick Suzuki, when you sign that extension, as great as it is for what you will likely become, you got to now become that star player and 60-point player, two-way forward, number one center, yada, yada, yada. You got to become that player. And if Suzuki isn't quite that player yet, he was in the playoffs, wasn't quite that player in the regular season. He was at times, but not consistently enough. But if that's going to be Nick Suzuki again, that's going to be a problem. And if Cole Caulfield isn't quite going to be that star player yet either, that's going to be a problem. And I'm talking if Cole Caulfield doesn't put up at least 20-something goals, 20-something assists, if he doesn't at least hit those marks, that's going to be a problem. I think he will, though. Loss of vets, loss of leadership. That will also be a reason why the Habs don't win in the short term. Shea Weber, Corey Perry, Philip Deneau, Carey Price in the short term. I think the biggest loss, honestly, Corey Perry, because of not only his leadership off the ice, his experience, but also his unique skill set of being a big body that creates havoc in front of the net, but also has finish in front of the net. But whatever, he just played for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight, and he's on Tampa Bay Lightning, so who cares? But the loss of the veteran leadership, that could be a reason why, that'll be a reason why the Habs lose games. The Habs lose games because Jonathan Drouin falters again, because he's inconsistent again. I think at his best, he'll continue to create plays in transition, bait opponents into turnovers, both in the neutral zone and the offensive zone by being positioned well on the forecheck. And he'll be just an unreal passer of the puck. But how well will he be defensively? What would he do with his scoring chances when it's on him to put the puck in the net, but he doesn't put the puck in the net? Because that's going to be the difference between Drouin taking that next step from where he was last year when he was mentally well. And Gallagher, if he has to miss a significant amount of games, which I think, unfortunately, he will, if the Habs just can't fulfill that role while he's absent, and if Gallagher doesn't put up the 20, 30 goals that he is getting paid to do and should do, that's going to be an issue as well. Habs will lose because of defense. Like I said, if their defense is steady but not good, then that'll be a problem. Because right now, as it stands, Brett Kulak is in the top 4. Ben Sherratt is still in the top 4. And if they can't handle those minutes, that'll be a problem. David Savard is in the top 4, of course. And if David Savard, at this point of his career, I think he can handle those big minutes. But will he? I don't know. And Joel Edmondson, obviously, is injured at the moment. Whatever happened? It's one thing with Joel Edmondson. What will he do? Just getting a quick update on Joel Edmondson here. Just so I know. Because that's one thing, honestly, I completely forgot about to follow up on. But anyway. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, if Joel Edmondson can come back, that will also help. But if he's out for the short term or long term, I'll be honest, that's one thing I completely forgot to double check. But anyway, more important question though is if Romanov and other young defensemen aren't ready for bigger roles, as in if Romanov doesn't take the step forward, that will hurt the Habs as well. And then, like I said, insufficient goaltending that will of Montembeault and Primo behind Jake Allen, Carey Price. That will hurt the Habs as well. Now, power play. It looked good in the preseason. It looked really good in the preseason. it also looked really good at times during last season. It looked really good at times during last season in short spurts, but it also looked really, really bad last season in long spurts. Kind of in the playoffs. Playoffs was okay. Power play was decent in the playoffs. It was average. Call it average. But will the power play be something that wins them and lose the Habs games this year? I have no idea. I honestly don't have an answer for that. It depends. If it's good, it'll help them win. If it's bad, it'll help them lose. That's a very lame analysis and very basic analysis, but that's all I have to say about the power play, honestly, because who the heck knows what it's going to be. Last but not least, how will it all fold? Well, I have the Habs going. So I pull it here. I think the Habs will finish 42. It'll be kind of similar to their 2018-2019 season, where they have a good mix of, just good depth at forward, decent defense, decent goaltending. At least record-wise, it will be similar. So I have them going 42, 29, and 11, 95 points, and 4th in the Atlantic Division. And here's the most important thing. I think they will finish with the second wildcard spot, which means since they're finishing 4th in the Atlantic, that means one of Boston, one of Florida, one of Tampa, and one of Toronto, one of those 4 other teams will finish behind the Habs. And I think that is possible. I think it's possible. Maybe it's Boston. Maybe it's the Leafs if they take a big step back. But then again, the Leafs are a really good regular season team. So I have the Habs, but I still think the Habs will just find a way to be good enough to be 4th in the Atlantic and the second wild card spot. And that is pretty much that here on Langer at the Mic. That is my Habs 2021 season preview and stat predictions. So as usual, if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel here. Give me a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Mike Langer for all 3. Been off on TikTok for a while, but, still tweeting, still posting stories every so often. I'll be going to the Habs game tomorrow against the Leafs. I'll be going to the season opener, so I'll be there 3 blocks away from right down the street from here. And I'm excited for that because it'll actually be my first time at a Habs Leafs game at Scotiabank Arena. So I'm looking forward to that. Question from Sheldon Weisberg a couple minutes ago. I'll bring that up. Does Romanov get power play time? Now I will go back and revisit. I revisited that earlier there, Sheldon. I think he does not yet because they didn't put him on the power play last year when they very well should have. They seem happy to put guys like, I think Ben Sherrod even got some power play time, or was it Kulak? I don't know. Just they for whatever reason they were reluctant to put him on the power play last year. I think that will be the case this year. So for whatever, I just don't think Romanov will get power play time, at least initially. So that's all I have here on this Habs preview show here on Langer at the Mic Live. Thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Go Habs, go, baby.